And good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're watching, or from wherever you're watching, rather from all over the world. My name is RJ Ledesma, and welcome to my podcast, the RJ Ledesma Podcast. Before everything else, to everybody listening to me from here in the Philippines, happy All Souls Day. I hope you had a nice, relaxing, and very stress-free break, rather. And happy also they coming live to you right now from Boracay, where I've taken my family for a short respite before the heavy burn months come along. Again, really great news to hear right now how our cases in Metro Manila and across the Philippines have really dropped. So again, let's continue to stay safe, stay healthy. And of course, if you haven't been vaccinated yet, please get yourselves vaccinated. And right now, it's a great opportunity to get your kids vaccinated as well. So those ages 12 to 17, please get them vaxxed as soon as you can. You can register right now online, and let's work together to help reshape and restart our economy and the health of our country. And again, here in the RJ Ledesma podcast, I interview the country's pioneering business personalities and entrepreneurs to learn more about how they think about their business, what are their success secrets, and can we hack those success secrets? How have they innovated their businesses during this pandemic? And more importantly, what opportunities do they see emerging during this new normal and the next normal? Now, is there a business personality or entrepreneur or even a Filipino OFW entrepreneur or a PhilAm entrepreneur or any entrepreneur who is Filipino from all over the world who would like me to interview on the podcast? Please let me know. I would love to interview them. We are also live right now on Kumu, CBRC TV, Global Pinas TV, and of course, the Bounce Back Network tonight. A very good friend of mine guesting over here. I'm so glad he was able to make it here on the show. We have Ricardo Cary Lagamero, who is the president and real estate of the real estate and construction group of the Davao-based Anflo Management and Investment Corporation. Under Cary's very astute leadership and strategic direction, their real estate company, DamosaLand official, has launched several milestone projects in Davao, and he will tell us more about these projects later on. These include the first agro-industrial estate, the first condominium project, the first flexible workspace station solution in Davao, and the first high-rise office tower in Damosa Diamond Tower, and many other mixed-use projects. And last but not the least, ito rin, Agriya, the first master-planned agri-tourism development in the Davao region. How did Cary come up with doing all these different firsts in Davao? I would love to hear from him, and especially how they were able to manage their business, especially during the new normal. So please welcome my good friend, Cary Lagamero, all the way from Davao. Davao. Hi,
Hey,
Cary. How are
RJ.
you doing?
I'm good, and then good evening to all your viewers. Thanks for having me. I'd be lying if I said that I'd rather be where you're broadcasting from. You mentioned that you're in Boracay right now, but all is well and good. So, how are you this evening?
Oh, we're great. You know what? The kids are in that super chill mood. Like I just hear, like you said, your kids were there in Davao last week. They just needed some fresh air, time to get out. Walk around, be mobile. And over here, I mean, they're in the beach. They've got sand in their feet. They've got the fresh waves. So it's a recharge for online schooling again.
Good, good, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're having fun there.
And I also hear it's very fun right now in Davao. Now, guys, before Carrie starts talking about all the great things he's doing in Davao, there's one thing which he's doing right now, which is a fantastic project for the whole of Davao. And this is the Davao Investment Conference, Carrie. Can you please tell us a bit more about this upcoming conference, which has been taking a lot of your time?
Yeah, sure, RJ. And first of all, thanks for giving me this opportunity to talk about the Davao Investment Conference, or as we fondly call it, Davao Icon. No? It's happening next week, November 11 and 12. And basically, this event happens every 2 years. So this is actually the sixth time that the Davao Chamber is holding this event. So it's already been about 12 years running. No? And essentially, what we like to highlight in these conferences are really what are the opportunities for major investors to come into not just Davao City, but the Davao region. No? So for this year, unfortunately, we still couldn't do it in person. It will be a virtual hybrid event. I say hybrid because it's not going to be simply a Zoom event. We're putting a lot of attention on production value, so we're shooting it in a studio live. A lot of our speakers will be coming live or will be broadcasting live here in Davao. We have a lot of top-notch speakers, major investors from Ayala Land to Cebu Land Masters, CP Foods, the Aboitiz Group, San Miguel. So these are all some of the major players that have been in the Davao region for quite some time now. So we'll have speakers from all of these companies. We'll also have from the government side, for instance, we have Secretary Berna Puyat, Berna Romulo Puyat, who will be speaking on behalf of tourism. We have Secretary Mon Lopez of DTI, and we also have heads of a lot of the foreign chambers that will be having a roundtable discussion. So we're trying to make it look and feel as much as a live conference as we can. We even have a cultural show that will be broadcasting as well. So everything that you could get in a conference, we're putting it into this two-day event next week. And basically what we're highlighting is real estate, tourism, manufacturing, and agribusiness. So those are four of the, I guess you can say, major areas of investment that we're seeing right now in the Davao region. So we'll be having speakers talking about these major industries. You can register online at davaoicon.com. So registration will be ongoing from now until the event on November 11 and 12. So I hope you could join, RJ. Hope your
Yep.
viewers
I
can
could have
join as
hosted the
well.
forum. You let me know. I would be glad to host it or moderated the forum there as well. Even if I'm not, my family business actually had a real estate project there in Davao
Yes,
many years ago. And remember Guadalupe Village over there in Davao. So and my wife
absolutely.
actually went to law school in Davao, so she's got a lot of relations there in Davao. So good friends in Davao.
Good. So we'll be looking forward to your support.
And Carrie, just to ask me, is this a free conference or this is a paid conference?
It's a paid conference. If I remember correctly, I think it's 6,000 per head. But this Friday we're doing I guess you can call it a flash sale. We'll be offering it at 4,000 pesos per head.
Great. So again, that's www.davaoicon.com. Is that right? We're flashing it on the screen right now,
Yep,
davaoicon.com.
yep,
Okay.
that's it.
Just a question right now. No, here's several things about Davao, especially for those of us who are Manila centric, might not be able to better appreciate the opportunities happening in the regional areas. Of course, that this is the president's hometown, Davao, and there's a lot of it's great that it's highlighted right now because of his presidency that a lot of investments have been going into Davao. But minus that, no, if even if he wasn't president, there's still a lot of great value to Davao. And what are what are people not see? What if you were actually Manila based, right? You used to fly in to Davao on a regular basis, but what are the opportunities that people don't see in Davao that makes it really ideal in terms of geography, in terms of people, in terms of
Yeah.
agriculture? Help us better see the picture of a Manileño looking at Davao and saying, "Oh, I didn't realize this about Davao."
Yeah, there's really so much opportunities, no, and that's why we're what we're highlighting is not just Davao City, but the entire region. Because when you look at the whole Davao region or Region 11, no, I mean, there are some areas that are very strong for agribusiness. There are some areas that are good for tourism. Davao City, of course, is good for real estate, trading, finance, and everything else because it's really the economic center of Mindanao. No, so what we also want to highlight is that a lot of the investment that we're seeing here in Davao have been here actually for decades.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
there's that uh, I guess misperception sometimes where investors or businessmen will think that we emerged from since 2016. No, but that's really not the case. No, I mean there's a lot of the major investment has happened in the past decades, and people have been here and have been successful for quite some time. No, so we as we all know, Mindanao is really the food basket of the country, and the Davao region itself is definitely no exception for that. When we look at real estate, for instance, the BPO market, for instance, is also really driving a lot of the new construction, a lot of the new townships, a lot of the new buildings, because Davao has been a center of excellence for the BPO industry for quite some time. Tourism is one of the I guess um, interesting and very up and coming industries. No? And we have, for instance, there's some of the new tourism spots that have come up over the last few years. Dusit Hotel is here.
Mm-hmm.
Discovery will be opening next year. Marriott Hotel will be opening up a hotel soon. And then even your Philippine-based real, tourism establishments, for instance, Acacia Hotel, Seda Hotel has been here for quite some time. Then Marco Polo, for instance, and I mean it's it, you, I guess you can say you name it, and they're all here already, and they're starting to come in. They're starting to come in a bigger way as we speak. So there's really a lot of opportunities across the board. The market is big. Davao City is 1.7 million people. The region is 5 million.
It's
Mindanao
one
is
of the
24 million
Davao
people.
City is one of the largest cities in the world. Am I right? I mean, if my understanding is
Yeah,
correct.
yes, definitely. I mean, in the country, it's the biggest in terms of land area, and in the world as well, it's one of the biggest. So you can imagine how much opportunities there still are to expand, and especially when you have infrastructure projects that are continuously being implemented. Obviously, that will complement a lot of the existing private projects that are currently ongoing.
Yeah, and then I just want to ask, no, I mean that because it's nice that we finally had a Mindanao president who was able to focus on because sometimes Mindanao is often because it's not at the center of policy making or the center of the government, things were often not paid too much attention to. But what has happened basically to the region of Davao because of the attention now given to Mindanao? I mean, because they often say, uh, Mindanao is the key to poverty alleviation. Mindanao is the key for really if you go to Mindanao and invest in Mindanao, that's when things really improve. How are you seeing that
Yeah.
as a businessman in Mindanao? How does that help us understand why investing in Mindanao is key to helping really grow the country?
Well, first of all, there's been so much interest in Mindanao, obviously, over the last couple of years, and especially the Davao region. And I think, um, if at all, there was a lot of curiosity from tourists, from businessmen, and they just wanted to see what was going on here. And what we always say is, as long as you're able to bring people to Mindanao and to Davao, they'll see what we've been seeing over the last 70 years. As a business group, they'll see all of the opportunities, and they'll see how conducive it is for investments. So it's one of those things where you just have to get their foot in the door, so to speak. And we continue to see that. No, why is Mindanao important as um, to be an industry leader in your respective industries. I think first and foremost, the market's huge. Mindanao is 24 million people. So, we had a webinar just recently, and we hosted a number of FMCG companies. And across the board, they all said that if we're going to be market leaders in our respective products, we have to have a Mindanao strategy, because Mindanao is that important for your national strategy, so to speak.
Wow, I think what a revelation, even for me, as to how to be Mindanao. And here's a call from a good friend from Colliers, from Joey Bondok of Colliers. Hi, Cary, looking forward to our briefing in Davao very soon. Joey Bondok of Colliers. Joey, again, thanks for listening. And of course, ang dami mong atang fans dyan mula sa Anflo. We got Luisa Karamian saying, good evening, Sir Cary. Sir Cary, maraming yata nakikinig sa'yo from... daghang salamat, ha? Yung mga nakikinig from Anflo and the rest of Davao. Thanks for listening to us here right now. Cary, ito lang. You said every 2 years that the Davao Investment Conference happens. Okay, what is the biggest difference that you've seen? I mean, taking into consideration both, okay, that we've had COVID and that we've had to manage with COVID, and also what has happened in the past 2 years that has really, that's much different now in Mindanao versus the last time that you did the investment conference? What's like the big mind-blowing or insight that we might gain this year that you've seen?
Well, one thing was that, we were happy to see that a lot of major investments continued. And RJ, you're in real estate, and we all know that the real estate industry has had its challenges, but was able to move forward. And we were able to see a lot of project completion over the last 2 years. We were able to see new projects also get launched as well. So I think it's a testament to how ready the market is here, how resilient the market is. Of course, agribusiness and manufacturing, for instance, those were industries that were able to continue despite the pandemic. So when I speak to a lot of people in those industries, they were happy in the sense that their businesses were not as disrupted maybe as other industries. And I think that's common for a lot of agribusiness companies. So those are some of the examples of what I can tell you of what happened over the last 2 years. One thing that was also very encouraging was that Davao had less hard lockdowns. So businesses were able to operate. I know that a lot of the malls, those with mall chains have said that their malls in Mindanao did a little bit better because there were less hard lockdowns. So I think that was also encouraging. And then now you see a lot of people, families, going out to restaurants, going out to the malls, and starting to spend. And that's what we've been waiting for quite some time. So hopefully this will continue. We're hoping, just like everybody else, for a good last 2 months of the year. But I think we're on the right track. I think we're on the right footing here in Davao. So I think we're really ready for that recovery.
Fantastic. And like you said, agribusiness was a bright spot, not just for Davao, but for the rest of the country. Remember when we hit negative, I think 18% GDP, agriculture was the only bright spot. And I guess Davao was part of that bright spot over there. When we talk about agribusiness, Cary, and I know that you also have your own Agriya, you got your own agro-industrial estate over there. To look at it better, I mean, to look at it even in more depth, what particular part of agribusiness is doing good right now?
Well, I would say the exports are still okay. The exports of, like, say, bananas, pineapples, those are obviously the two biggest agri exports that we have. But even, for instance, we have an industrial park. It's one of our projects, and it's an agro-industrial project. The companies that were operating there, the food manufacturing companies, they actually had an uptick in sales.
Wow.
The demand for their products in other countries, so for instance, banana chips, there was a strong demand for banana chips in countries such as China. So they were actually operating very well. Even other banana products that were processed and exported, they also did quite well as well. So I mean, we're what we're starting to see, and what we want to see more of, are more of these value-added products. So not just the exporting of fresh produce and fresh products, but obviously that's still going to be extremely important and number one. But we want to see, manufacturers of chocolate, coffee, coconut products, and we've had a lot of inquiries from some of these companies to set up factories in our industrial park. So if it's any indication, we're starting to see more higher value added
That's
or
great to
value
hear.
adding companies come in. Yep.
Yeah. And having said that about Davao, no, I mean, it takes me about. I want to take it just a bit back, no. And I look at you. I mean, you're a graduate of Columbia Business School. You've worked for investment banks, and you've had other projects. And I mean, and but eventually you found yourself going to Davao. Uh, for many people, if you were educated the way that you were educated, and or you've had that background, they wouldn't really be looking at. I mean, just between. I mean, not between us, but between people listening to us, it wouldn't be a major consideration for them to go back to the province, right? And then expand the business over there. But you took the chance. That was your sort of like your both your entrepreneurial gut to move over there. Of course, it was a family business, but also, syempre, you need to choose, right? What was it about Davao that made you want to go there and say, itataya ko yung aking professional career dyan sa Davao?
Wow. First of all, that's a great question, RJ. And first of all, it took me a while. I'll be completely honest. I started working here in Davao about 8 years ago lang. So that's actually pretty late now in my career. No, I was in my late 30s already. But then, more and more when I would start when I started to visit later in my career, and I could see that that there were so many opportunities, there were so many untapped businesses, and I keep thinking back to the early entrepreneurs that came to Mindanao in the 40s and 50s, where they came to Mindanao when it was really like a blank slate, and they just took their chance as entrepreneurs, no, and you're an entrepreneur yourself, no, so sometimes it takes that, or I guess you want to be challenged. You want to know that you can do something, create something from nothing, create something new, and why not? Because there are things happening in other parts of the country, other parts of the world. So you think to yourself, why can't we have this in our part of the Philippines? No, and I think a lot of the businessmen that I've been meeting and that I've met over the last 8 years, I think they feel the same. It was quite interesting that when I moved here about 8 years ago, there was uh, several Manila-based businessmen that also did similar moves, and they're still here now. No, so it's people that were, they went to school in Manila, they were born and raised in Manila. You wouldn't think that they would also take their business or set up their business outside of Metro Manila, but they're still here today, and they're doing quite well. No, so it's almost like there was this resurgence of Manila-based entrepreneurs and businessmen that were coming to Mindanao and trying their hand in this part of the country.
So you're not hindi ka tubong Davao. In other words, your roots are not from Davao, but you're really your business your affinity for business began there in Davao, I guess.
I guess you could say that. I mean, my family's been here. I have a lot of families that have really spent most of their lives here. Personally, I was born in Manila, but Davao has always been, part of our DNA. It's just that I only took the plunge and decided to work here 8 years ago, and I think it was really one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Fantastic. I want to just go back to the comment box over here from Laura Valdez Porras. Hi, RJ. Hope your popular Mercato will expand in Davao soon. Cary, what can we say about expanding in Davao soon for Mercato?
I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you to come down.
Okay, so we were actually talking offline, Laura, and figuring out what will be the logistics to bring Mercato to Davao. And if you look at what Cary's been doing, I like the idea of shared values where, although you're doing business, you're also helping small entrepreneurs grow, and that's really what Mercato is all about. So hopefully, I will be bringing it there very soon and creating pockets of areas where we will help grow and scale small Davaoenyo-based entrepreneurs, and not just bring them to Davao. Let's bring them nationwide. Same way that we'll bring vendors from Manila to Davao, so that it's a nice
Mhm.
intercultural exchange, and it's great food exchange, and of course, we want to help take advantage of the growth in Davao.
Absolutely. And I'll just share something, RJ. Before the pandemic, and we did this a couple of years before the pandemic. We even had our own food festival that we would do once a month here in our business complex. We used to call it the Damosa Food Fest, and it was actually one of the most. I would like to think it was one of the more visited food festivals. I mean, we took our cue honestly from Mercato. We saw what you guys were doing there, and we wanted to do something similar. And we saw a lot of these really interesting food concepts from SMEs, and it was a good mix of bigger food establishments and brand new food concepts. So it's very similar to what you guys are doing. So if Mercato were to decide to come to Davao, the market is really it's ripe for it. No, and
Well,
we already did something very similar. So I think you guys would be perfect here.
so I'm perfect. So again, we're gonna seal a deal after this is done, Lord. Don't worry. DamosaLand and Mercato, a perfect marriage made in heaven. We're coming over to Davao, and I love Davao as well. My wife loves Davao. My family has business roots in Davao as well. So hopefully we get to see you soon, Cary. Now, having said all this, this is such an interesting discussion for me. Talking about because especially during this time, so many people during COVID, it's highlighted the fact that you've got to decentralize from Manila, get away from Manila. I mean, people have been investing now in their provinces, in their home provinces. They're getting out of the city, and which is great for us right now. It's great for economic development that we disperse development across the regions. No, and having said that, I really want to go back now, Cary, more to talk about what I call the secret origin of our entrepreneurs. No, um,
Mhm.
now, from what I understand is that uh, your dad is a diplomat and he used to work. He was abroad. You came back here. Karen and I have known each other for years, so we know each other's families. So and then he went at Ateneo for college, and then eventually went to business school. And Karen, you had that sort of track, right? Where you done business school, you were working for a venture capital firm, I believe, or you were working for different companies. Oh, why why did you choose not to stay in the career oriented path? Why choose to go entrepreneurial? Was it something that like for myself, and my own background is that I did my master's abroad. I went to a multinational, did my master's abroad, but all this was with the intention of eventually joining my family business, right? Just to gain the experience outside. Was it similar for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I wanted to get my experience outside, and I knew that I wanted to work for the family eventually. I just didn't know when that was. But let me share a story, RJ. No,
For
and
sure.
not to be too sentimental, but what really struck me was when my grandfather passed away, and who's the patriarch and the founder of our family business. He passed away in 2012. No, so of course we visited. We were here for the funeral and everything, but something that really struck me was when um, I saw how much I saw the outpouring of support from people, from not just from the company but from the community, generations of people that had just good things to say about him, how he helped them through thick and thin, was able to give them livelihood, able to give them opportunities, able to transform the business landscape, and all of those stories really struck me. And I thought to myself, why am I going to work for somebody else when we have this opportunity to continue that legacy? No, so it was in a way kind of like giving back, but not just giving back, but even trying to take things even further. No, and it was proven that that businesses can be very successful. And that's what really struck me, and that's what really prompted me to explore opportunities here.
No. Having said that, Cary, and I hope you don't mind. I mean, I got into this as well with people like Buds, Wenceslao of Asiana Development. Um, when you have a professional background, so you were trained like same like Buds, also trained with a master's degree in real estate development. Yours is an MBA. There are other family members who could who could also have taken over. Was it sort of like you had to earn your place, or was it a meritocracy? Because I mean, it wasn't. I'm sure that there are other family members who also, it's you're a second generation or third generation. It's
Yeah.
they who do they place there? How did they know it
Yep.
could be you?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that was the good thing, and that's something that I really respected was that it was a meritocracy. When I came here, I was not put at the highest level. I was not even put at a very high level, and I'm not sure if my family is listening in, but I did take a big pay cut. Um, I did sacrifice quite a bit. I sacrificed being away from the family, so it wasn't it wasn't easy in the first couple of years. But I think it was really important that I had to go through that, to really understand what it meant to gain the respect of the people that have been in the company for so long. So to answer your question, yeah, it was and it still is a meritocracy, even if it is a family business.
But you had to let them know that, hey, I want to be part of this part of the family business. Tama ba ako?
I did, and you know how I kind of did it was, we have several companies that have been around for so long, like our bread and butter businesses, like our banana exporting business, our manufacturing business, and so when I looked across the portfolio, first I didn't want to get into a business that was already very well established and was you know was running very well. I wanted to get in something that I felt was still upcoming, but very exciting. And the real estate business was exactly that. It wasn't one of our core businesses 10, 15 years ago. And now it is, no? And so I felt that I could really make a contribution to it. Honestly, if I were put in agribusiness, I really don't know if I would have been able to make a good contribution. So it's good that I'm not there.
Can I just ask? I'm just very curious. I mean, to say, you had a family, you had two kids already. You had I guess, a good job before leaving. I mean, that's a difficult. I mean, for me, I find that a difficult decision to make, to take that large a pay cut. You remind me of when I interviewed Cesar Rui as well, right? I mean, when he had to work for Jerry Choa in Pro Friends,
Mhm. Yeah.
he took an absolute pay cut, left the family business, and said, "I'm gonna do this myself." But I mean to say, that takes balls for me for what he did, and look at
Yeah.
what he's been reaping as a result. Can you take me back, and how is it like for you? I mean, the human side. You're the superhero side, is you really taking the business here, but I mean, there's a lot of sacrifices plus the pay cut plus the not you weren't the uncertainty of taking over a business that wasn't so established yet.
Yeah, I guess maybe that was the entrepreneur in me. Um, and I mean, we all know that hard work and sacrifice, it never goes unrewarded. We just don't know how long you're going to have to really go through that ringer, diba? So I felt that as long as I stayed focused, that I had that my heart was in the right place when we were doing all of these projects. I knew that eventually it was going to reap dividends, or it was going to be where we wanted it to be. But it's like you just have to really take that plunge. You have to really just suck it up for a while, and things will fall into place. I'm lucky that things did fall into place sooner rather than later. To be honest, I'm blessed to have that, or to be blessed with that.
Fantastic. Now, having said that, we keep on talking about the portfolio of businesses. Maybe also people can better appreciate the type of entrepreneur the patriarch was, your Lolo, when he came over to Mindanao many years ago. Because what exactly encompasses Anflo as a business? Tell us a bit more about when your grandfather came over, what businesses he established and what you had to take over after that
Yeah.
point. Where did they bring it up to the point that you came in?
Sure. Well, a lot of people really know us for our agribusiness roots now, our banana export business. And then we became known for manufacturing. Um, Today we have port operations. Although I think a lot of people really know us because of our Pearl Farm Beach Resort. That's one of the businesses that when you say the name, people will they'll get it. They'll know that that's us now. And then real estate was something that came back later on. So now I would say agribusiness is still probably the biggest in our portfolio. Real estate are one of the businesses that are upcoming. But an interesting story, RJ, no, and a lot of people don't know this, but people do tend to ask, what does Damosa mean, no, or what does DamosaLand mean? The first business that my grandfather started way back after World War II, he brought Ford to Mindanao.
And
Yeah,
he was from Manila. He was from Manila. Tama ba ako? He's from Manila. Then he went to Davao. Is that right?
he was originally from La Union, then
Hello,
found his way
yun.
to Manila, where he went to school and he started his career in Manila. And then there was an opportunity to bring Ford Motors to Mindanao, and that's how he started in Mindanao. And so the name of the
Wow.
company that he started was Davao Motor Sales, hence Damosa.
Damosa.
Yeah, right. And so DamosaLand is actually it's still the same company. It's literally the same company, but it was transformed into a real estate company in I think that was probably in the late 90s. So what happened was that there were so many areas, or were there so many properties that the company owned, and there were so many areas in Davao that became known as Damosa because that's where our showrooms were. And so that's why we decided to keep the name Damosa, and we transformed the company into a real estate company, hence DamosaLand. So a lot of the land banks that we're actually developing were old properties that were owned by the original Damosa.
Wow,
So that's
interesting.
actually
I
how,
always thought
yeah,
Damosa was a Davaoeno term, but it's actually Davao Motor Sales.
Davao Motor Sales. Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah,
Oh, but as I said, something a bit interesting. I found that a couple of, like I said, I had Buds on this show, Buds Wenceslao of ASEAN a couple
yep.
of weeks ago, a couple of months ago. And there was actually, you actually had concluded a deal with him. It was a very nice and quick deal between a really great meeting of the minds of the Mosa and Ashana. Can you tell us a bit more about that one? It's like a perfect deal that you guys had over there.
Yeah, that was that was a very quick and painless and very friendly deal. Our family sold a Makati commercial property to the Wenceslaus. I do believe that they'll be developing it in a couple of years, but I'll tell you, I mean, if it's somebody that you want to work with and do business with, I mean, Buds is one of those guys. I mean, really solid guy and very straightforward. At any point, there was you knew that everything was being done above board, and we were, as you said, I mean, it was two like-minded people concluding a transaction for our respective families. So yeah, I mean, and we were able to do it at the start of the pandemic. That was in September of 2020. Believe it or
Wow.
not, when I had met Bud. I think I mean, I've known him for a while, but we met about this sometime in August. I got COVID, and I worked on the deal while I had COVID in my room, and then
Wow.
we signed on the deal a few weeks after my quarantine. So it was quite a memorable transaction.
Wow, that's a transaction you'll never forget, Cary. Pag ganyan, that's really one for
Absolutely.
the books, literally. I want to
Yes.
just pick up a comment from over here. It says over here from Team Sablada. DLI or DamosaLand is one of the best third-generation managed and lead organizations from Mindanao. Part of the Anflo group that has contributed much to the local economy and people for more than 70 plus years. Hats off again to Ricardo, Cary Lagdameo, and Ricardo Florendo and the whole management team. Great job, guys. And
Oh,
thanks,
thanks,
Team
team.
Sablada. Thanks so much for the follow-up comment. Good evening, RJ. Great job. Keep up the good work. Thanks so much. I've been wanting to feature Cary for some time. I'm so glad that we finally had the time to speak to him here right now. Okay, I want to go back now to the story of DamosaLand. Cary, what was the state? Because I mean, right now, if you look at DamosaLand, a lot of firsts that you brought over to the company, and like I said at the start of the show, what you brought over here is that you've launched the first agro-industrial estate, the first condo, the first flexible workspace, a high-rise office tower, and then the first master planned agri-tourism. Sounds like I'm a
Yeah.
ambassador for DamosaLand right there. But then, when you guys started off, what was the state of DamosaLand when you came in, and what did you see had to be done? What's the first opportunity that you said was a low lying fruit that you had to start off with?
There were a lot of good projects that were ongoing when I started. That was in 2014. No? First of all, years before I came on, DamosaLand, and that was under my uncle Ricky Florendo. No, they put up the first PEZA accredited IT park in this part of the country, in the southern Philippines. So that gave birth to some of the first BPOs in Davao. No? And today, that's one of the IT parks, or the business parks that we continue to develop. So that was one of the major projects. When I started, also that was the first foray of DamosaLand into residential subdivisions. So when I came on board, we have a common friend, si Mike Reyes. No,
Hey, Mike. Mike's
he
watching us
still
right now. Mike, thanks so much for listening. Huh?
he's we still work with him in his company on several of our projects, and so he helped launch the first residential project of DamosaLand, and even some of the subsequent projects that we're currently doing. Um, what I focused on when I first came in was our agri-tourism, or our agri-township. That was actually the first project that I was asked, or was asked to do when I started. It was raw land. It was 80 hectares of raw land in Davao del Norte,
80
and that's
hectares.
something that,
Wow.
yeah, it's going to be a very long-term project. We're obviously doing it in several phases. It's currently ongoing. No, I mean, our subdivision is already, I would say, 50% done. We have an agri-tourism project that's also within that, within that 80 hectares. We also partnered with UP Los Baños to put up a UP Los Baños professional school for agriculture in that project. So these are things that are currently ongoing, and we'll probably be developing that for the next, for a very long time.
Yeah.
And then shortly after
These
that,
are like the legacy projects which hopefully your son or the next, like the Maya generation, helps handle as well. No.
exactly, no, and I always say that, and I think it was another good friend of ours, Raymond Rufino, that he
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
it so well. He said, as real estate professionals, we're mere stewards for the next
Towards.
generation.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, when he said that, that really stuck with me, and I think that's really the truth, no? Especially with these big projects. Shortly after that, then we launched our industrial park, our agro-focused industrial park. That was back in 2016. That's when we started construction on it. It's I would say it's about 60% built out. We have several locators that have been operating there. There's not many agro-industrial industrial parks in the country, and so we felt that this was one way of being able to advance the economy in Davao del Norte, provide jobs, and at the end of the day, agro-industrial parks will benefit the farmers directly because it's
Okay.
their produce that will be developed within these industrial parks.
If you don't mind me asking, I'm going to step back a bit and go back to the agro residential development that you've been doing. I
Mhm.
understand the residential part, and I'm trying to just wrap my head around the idea of saying it's agro. I mean, there's an agricultural component
Yeah.
attached to it, because to my mind, as a developer, is that a farm lot that you farm lot development where it's a house with a farm lot, or uh, Is it because that Davao already has an agri-business, strong agri-business sector that you're doing agri-residential? Help me understand that what is that opportunity for
Okay,
agri-residential?
sure. Well, first of all, the where the project is, it's in Davao del Norte, so it's the next province north of Davao City. Davao del Norte is very much known for banana plantations, agribusiness, port operations, manufacturing. So it's a bit more industrial, no? We wanted to stay true to what was important to the local economy, which is agriculture. And so to answer your question, I mean, what does an agri township mean? It means that we're trying to put in as much agri components into the project. So I mentioned agri-tourism is one of the major components of that project. So we have a working, it's like a theme park based on agriculture. So people can visit there every day, and we have a working banana farm. We have aquaculture. We have livestock. Basically, it's trying to put more importance into an industry that unfortunately has been a little bit neglected. No? So that's one component. Our major school anchor is, as I mentioned earlier, it's a UP Los Baños school. So the thinking there was, why not have a UP professional school for agriculture, such that the people that the professionals in the region that need to go for professional agri education don't have to go all the way to Los Baños, or don't have to go outside of Mindanao. They can actually stay in Mindanao. They can still work and go to school. A lot of our agriculturists end up actually going out of Mindanao, and there's always a chance that they might not come back.
That's
Right.
right. That's right.
So that's another way of trying to prevent brain drain. On the residential side, one of the biggest things that came about during the pandemic is urban farming, vertical farming. So you don't even really need huge farm lots anymore to have your own produce inside your residential property. You can even have like a 400, 500 square meter plot of land, and you can have vertical gardening. You can do urban gardening, and it's become something that people have really taken notice of. So um, a lot of the components that we're putting into this project will have it will relate back to agriculture. Essentially, that's what we have envisioned for the agri township.
And it's sort of like it sort of halos or it borrows synergies from the banana plantation, or your banana business. I mean, I'm guessing in terms of at least
Yeah,
the ecosystem of how to make this work better. We have the system already in place. We just put it here in the agro-industrial or
yeah, I mean,
agro-residential.
yeah. You can say that because like the people that are taking care of all of this, I mean, they're agriculturists. They know exactly how to grow things, how to make sure that the produce is always fresh. I mean, there's obviously a skill to it. Now there's an art. I don't have that. I don't have that know-how. So we have experts doing it for us.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, because you are sort of like a portfolio of businesses, is each business treated as its own separate business unit? Meaning that when you had to develop, let's say, the residential township or the condo units or everything else, that financing had to be generated within the real estate development unit. So you had to borrow your own money from the bank from there, or was it another company, a holding company, loaning the money to you guys over there?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And as much as possible, we try to keep it within within the business unit. No, we had to raise our own financing. Of course, there's always going to be support from the parent company, but I try to keep it to a minimum. To be honest, we wanted to have that discipline that um, we had to work within our means, meaning we wouldn't overextend ourselves with certain products or certain projects. And that's how we've grown the business. I mean, we didn't go big in the beginning. We handled what we could, and the projects got bigger and bigger after that. And so um, the funding from our banks obviously would get bigger and bigger as the company grew. But definitely, we try to keep it within the business group or within the business unit.
About that. And then so now you were able to finally grow the business. How about now that you did the condominium unit? That's the thing that that's what I find interesting. Because sometimes when I travel out of the city, I understand the need for city because obviously you develop vertically because of the because of the price of the land, right? And sometimes I go to the north or the south, and sometimes I just kind of wonder why they're building condos because of the price of the land or the property is so big. But you've
Yeah.
been developing right now the first condo in the one of the first condos in Davao, diba? So tell us a bit more about that
Or
one. I'm curious to find out how you see the opportunity.
yeah, sorry. Just to correct also, it's not one of the first condos in Davao. It was our first condo project as
Oh, your first condo.
DamosaLand.
Sorry about that.
So there's been actually quite a number of high-rise condos, especially when you're in Davao City. It's really hard to find a house and lot project anymore. It would be going out towards the outskirts of the city. And as you said, the prices have become quite high in Davao City. So anything that you see going up, it's really a condominium project. And I think people really wanted to have that convenience, kind of like what why people in other cities would want condominiums. I mean, it's convenient. Um, you have all the amenities. You can just lock up, and it's also a good investment. No? So one thing that we saw was that there were a lot of people that were looking to invest their money in the city, but there weren't as many projects for them to invest in. But what we saw is that when you give a good project, the market is there. People are willing to spend their money and they're willing to invest their money in good projects, in good names. That's why you see people are buying, Ayala land projects, for instance, that are almost Manila priced.
Wow.
Mega World projects, DMCI projects, and the prices are not cheap, but people want to invest in quality projects. So it's good for the city, it's good for the buyers, and we continue to see that.
Okay. Then I want to go back now to the big agro-industrial projects that you're doing, or the total, agri is sort of like the linchpin of everything else. There's residential, there's industrial, and all these different things that are emerging. Where do you see the DamosaLand taking it in the next couple of years? Because it's sort of like you're laying the groundwork right now for what's going to
Yeah,
become, because agro-tourism will take some, for me, it will take some time to get where it is, to my mind.
right.
No? Agribusiness also very established banana, but these other agribusinesses you're doing in your place, they will take, there's a certain maturity level or a certain scale it has to get to be viable or sustainable businesses. Where do you
Yeah.
see where the DamosaLand is taking all this one?
For this particular project, you mean for the
Yes, yes.
agri
For the
township?
for the
Uh,
agri township and also for the agro-industrial portion for the Agriya. Oh,
okay, because they're two separate projects, no.
yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I guess for Agriya, I mean, over the next couple of years, the way we envision it's really a self-contained township or CBD project. All of the components that you need. I mean, you have everything within reach, no. And to be honest, I mean, we're looking at best practices from all the different successful real estate developers across the country that have been doing townships. We're just trying to put our own stamp on it, which is the agricultural component. But one thing that we also want to consider moving forward is not just an agri city, but also an agri smart city. So I mean,
Mm.
technology is making it possible for affordable solutions to make your city smart. It doesn't have to be as complex and expensive anymore. We also want it to be a very sustainable city. So, for instance, like our first house and lot project, where we're using a Danish technology to build our homes, which uses a lot less cement, 70% less cement.
That's
No,
Connovate by M. Imperial. Is that one?
exactly. That's by Mrs. Emma Imperial. You know, it's a great product.
Really
It's
great.
durable. It's a very strong product, but it's sustainable. It's eco-friendly. So these are some of the innovations that we want to put in that project. So it's a combination of everything. It's agri themed, but we want to tech it up, and we want to make sure that it's sustainable. So it's really
Okay.
like this city of the future.
And then moving forward a bit more, Cary, I know that we talked a lot about the opportunities that are available right now in Davao. But in your perspective, what are the opportunities that you're seeing emerging that that are very interesting for you personally? After in your perspective, as seeing the real estate development, seeing agri development over there, where can entrepreneurs still play in that area, especially if they go to Davao or in other
Yeah.
areas with similar conditions around the country?
Well, I think it's no coincidence why our Davao Investment Conference next week will be focusing on certain key industries. These are industries that we believe there are a lot of opportunities. So I mentioned earlier real estate. Of course, agribusiness is still going to be at the forefront of anyone's mind coming to Mindanao. But tourism and manufacturing. So manufacturing is, we want to attract more locators to come to our part of the country. A lot of them right now are situated, for instance, in Luzon, in the Visayas. But manufacturing really has that good multiplier effect. No? And the investments that go into manufacturing are very long term. They're quite large as well. So there are opportunities because the infrastructure is getting much better. We have ports, airports, seaports, um, investments in roads and bridges and things like that. But even for SMEs, as I mentioned earlier, I think when we were having a discussion before the start of the podcast was that there's a lot of good, interesting food concepts that are coming up. Food entrepreneurs, they're taking advantage of this, this um, I guess of this big market that we have in Davao, a market also that's becoming more discerning, that's becoming more open to new ideas. No, so I think there's a lot of opportunities, not just for big investors, but even for SMEs as well. I mean, and that's why this is right up your alley with your F&B businesses, and would love to pick your brain on that now when you come visit.
Yeah, we're gonna be there soon. So again, those listening, Mercato and Davao happening soon. Also, I just want to make one more plug again for all those who want to attend the Davao Investment Conference or Davao Icon. Can we please flash again there you go, www.davaoicon.com for those who want to attend this upcoming conference. Again, Cary, thanks so much for the time. I wish we had more time. I mean, the conversation went by so quickly. But just one more thing, Cary. I mean, you've gained a lot. You've learned a lot, both as a professional and as an entrepreneur running a family business. And you're still seeing some opportunities emerging. You shared a lot of advice, like how you have to just suck it up, and how for you business was just more than just doing business, but rather for you it was like continuing the sort of impact or the legacy that your grandfather had there in Mindanao. So, what are your couple of tips for the entrepreneurs listening here right now? I mean, some of them are saying, "Well, I think I'm too late to get in the boat because I'm not an entrepreneur yet," or they're struggling during these times. What would be your advice to them, especially as they're trying to pick themselves up after this pandemic or during this pandemic, rather?
No, honestly, I think entrepreneurship knows no age. I mean, we know entrepreneurs that have been successful later in life, in their 40s and 50s. Um, and look, I mean, even with my experience, I had some entrepreneurial ventures. I was in F&B at one time earlier in my career, and I failed miserably. I do believe that I only found my bearings later on, like when I found myself here in Davao. So look, I mean, it's quite overused. People will always say, "Oh, you have to fail," but that's the truth. You
That's the truth.
fail
You
a
have to
couple
fail, right?
fail a
You will
couple
you will
times,
fail.
then yeah, you'll never find a successful entrepreneur that didn't fail. So
Fully agree. Fully
um,
agree here. Yep.
right. So I think it's that, and ultimately, I mean, just make sure that your heart's in the right place. Do noble work. Don't don't screw anyone over. And yeah, and just do good work. And I think you'll be enough. You'll be or we will all be rewarded in the end.
Uh, well, again,
Yeah.
thanks so much, Cary Lagdameo of DamosaLand, for guesting here on the show. Hopefully, we get some people to sign up for the Davao Icon Conference. Good luck with all the projects going on at the same time. It's a fantastic job that you guys are doing, and more power to you guys. And hopefully, we'll see Mercato in DamosaLand very soon. Again, this is RJ Ledesma. See you for the next Ledesma podcast on Thursday. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, RJ. Thanks for having me, and hope to see you soon.
See you
Enjoy
soon.
Boracay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.